These are fun to make, but if you want to skip making the waffles, use crisp thin biscuits instead. Makes about 25 for the waffle batter. 1 egg white, 1 salt, a pinch sugar, 1 tablespoon plain flour, 100 grams butter, 60 grams melted butter for greasing. For the marshmallow filling, water 50 milliliters, vanilla pod 1 seeds, scraped glucose syrup 60 grams, egg whites 100 grams, 3 to 4 eggs, caster sugar 100 grams. For the glazedark chocolate, 200 grams, minimum 60% cocoa solids. Start with the waffle batter. Beat the egg and egg white with salt, then beat in the sugar and finally the flour. Beat well, so there are no lumps in the mixture, then add the melted butter. Heat a little butter in a waffle pan. Spoon 100 milliliters of batter into the pan and spread out in an even layer. Cook them until they are very crisp without burning them. This mixture should make approximately 4 waffles. Leave to cool. Preheat the oven 130 C, gas mark 1/2. Cut the waffles into 4 cm rounds. Place on a baking tray lined with baking parchment. Bake for about 5 to 10 minutes or until crisp. Cool on a wire rack. For the marshmallow filling, boil the water, vanilla seeds and glucose and whisk till the glucose is dissolved. And whisk the egg whites and sugar until fluffy. Mix in the glucose mixture and beat for about 7 minutes. Then place in a piping bag. Pipe small balls for marshmallow mixture on top of each crisp waffle, about 15 grams on each. Leave them to rest at room temperature for about 2 hours. Finally chop the chocolate and melt 2/3 of it in a bain-marie. When it has melted and has reached a temperature of 50 C, add the rest of the chopped chocolate. Mix well until all the chocolate has melted. Gently heat all the chocolate in the bain-marie till it reaches a temperature of 31 C. Now the chocolate is ready for use. Dip the floataboller in the chocolate, so that the marshmallow and the sides of the wafer are covered but the bottom remains uncovered, then place on parchment paper. Let the chocolate set, then they are ready to eat. The floataboller will last for a week. Tip: you can sprinkle some with shredded coconut on top, or, if you want to make the marshmallow pink, use beetroot juice instead of water in the glucose mixture. Trine Hanneman is author of Copenhagen Food Quadrille, 25 pounds, Margot Henderson's Anzac Biscuits. Margot Henderson's Anzac Biscuits. Photograph: Roma's Ford. For the Observer. Makes about 20 oats, 200 grams desiccated coconut, 150 grams plain flour, 200 grams demerara sugar, 100 grams unsalted butter, 200 grams golden syrup, 100 grams bicarbonate of soda, 1 tablespoon boiling water, 4 tablespoons. Preheat the oven to 160 C, gas mark 3. Then line a baking tray with grease-proof paper. In a large bowl, mix the oats, coconut, flour and sugar together. Over a low heat, melt the butter and golden syrup together. Combine the bicarbonate of soda and boiling water, then stir into the golden syrup and butter. Then combine the butter syrup mixture well with the dry ingredients. Once the mix is cool enough to handle, roll into 55 grams balls. Place the balls on the tray, with a good amount of room around them, then lightly press down and bake for 15 minutes. Let the cookies cool, and then eat them or store in an airtight container. Margot Henderson is chef, co-owner of Rochelle Canteen, London. E2 Dan Leopard's Oat and Sour Cherry Cookies. Dan Leopard's Oat and Sour Cherry Cookies. Photograph: Roma's Ford. For the Observer. So many new things have appeared in our supermarkets over the last decade that sometimes I'm torn between the joy of the new and encouraging you to bake with a more traditional ingredient. So this recipe manages to face both ways, combining the chewiness of oats with the slight sourness of dried cherries. Makes about 50 biscuits. Unsalted butter 225 grams, softened light soft brown sugar 375 grams, caster sugar 50 grams, vanilla extract 3 teaspoons, eggs 2 large, plain flour 300 grams, ground cinnamon 1 teaspoon, bicarbonate of soda 2 teaspoons, rolled oats 200 grams, dried sour cherries 200 grams. Beat the butter, sugars and vanilla until light and fluffy. Beat in the eggs, one at a time, then sift the flour, cinnamon and bicarb together and stir that through, followed by the oats and cherries, until you have a consistent mixture. Heat the oven to 170°C, gas 3 and line a baking tray with nonstick baking paper. Spoon tablespoon-sized dollops of the mixture onto the tray spaced 4 to 5 centimeters apart. Bake for 12 to 14 minutes until barely puffed and just starting to color at the edges. Leave to cool for a few minutes, then transfer to a rack to finish cooling, while you continue to bake, or freeze half to use later. Photograph. Andy Sewell makes about 18 to 20 plain flour 250 grams, plus extra for dust inducing sugar 110 grams, unsalted butter 200 grams, softened egg yolks 2 fine sea salt a pinch for the filling, raspberry jam 130 grams, caster sugar 2 teaspoons. For sprinkling, put all the ingredients apart from the filling into a food processor and whiz until a ball of dough is formed. Wrap it in cling film and chill in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours. Preheat the oven to 170°C, gas 3 and line 2 large baking trays with baking paper. Take the dough out of the fridge and leave for an hour to soften. On a lightly floured surface, roll it out to 3 to 4 millimeters thick, then, using a 6 centimeters cutter, cut out your rounds to make the bases. To make the tops, take half the rounds and cut out the center, using a 2 centimeters cutter. Keep rolling and cutting until you have 18 to 20 bases and 18 to 20 tops. Place the biscuits without a hole on the trays and put 1/2 teaspoon of jam in the center, spreading it out slightly. Place the wholly biscuits on top, pressing slightly so the jam rises out from the center a little. Chill in the fridge for 5 minutes, then bake for 20 to 22 minutes, until lightly golden brown. Sprinkle the biscuits immediately with the caster sugar. Leave on the trays for 5 minutes, then put them on a rack to cool. From Bread, Cake, Donut, Pudding by Justin Gelatly, Fig Tree, 25 pounds, Jeremy Lee's Shortcakes, Lemon Curd, Goat's Curd and Marmalade, Jeremy Lee's Shortcakes, Lemon Curd, Goat's Curd and Marmalade. Photograph. Roma's Ford for the Observer. Favorite things heaped together make this pleasing pudding. For 4 good folk, unsalted butter 125 grams, caster sugar 40 grams, orange finely grated zest of 1, plain flour 170 grams, whole almonds 40 grams, ground fine white breadcrumbs 40 grams, toasted to serve, goat's curd 1 tub, enough for 8, lemon curd 1 jar, best homemade marmalade 1 jar, heat an oven to 170°C, gas mark 3. Beat the butter and sugar in a bowl till quite pale. Add the orange zest and mix well, then add in the flour, almonds and breadcrumbs. Mix well into a dough. Knead lightly and make into a roll, about 4.5 centimeters in diameter. Refrigerate this for at least an hour or overnight. Line a baking sheet with baking parchment and upon this lay slices of shortcake mix cut to the thickness of a pound coin. Bake for 12 to 15 minutes until the palest golden. Heap the curds on the shortcakes, put goat's curd first, then lemon, 2 teaspoons each, spoon over a little marmalade and heap them up. You can use only 2 biscuits, but if feeling brave, make a double-decker and use 3. Jeremy Lee is executive chef at Quo Vadis, London W1.